Hello everyone, my name is Sanjay and I want to welcome all of you for being with us today. Good morning or afternoon, wherever you are. I'm a marketing executive at ELearning, and just to establish my role for the webinar, I will be doing a quick introduction before we get on with the session. So thank you for attending our webinar on e-learning on tablets, what, why, and how. Now before we get started, I just want to make you aware of a couple of housekeeping things. You will be receiving the recording of the webinar via an email. We have some polls lined up for you as well during the course of the webinar, so please do participate. And lastly, feel free to ask any questions from my experts using the chat facility. Now just a bit about the company, ELearning. For 10 years, we've been helping organizations of different sizes and types to improve performance through better learning. With our head office in India, we serve clients based in the UK, USA, Australia, Middle East, and other countries. A wide range of innovative learning solutions includes Upside LMS, a multi-award-winning learning management system, Upside to Go, a mobile performance support platform, and custom learning solutions for desktops, tablets, and smartphones. We have been recognized and awarded by Brandon Hall, TrainingIndustry.com, Deloitte, CLO, Apex, Red Herring, and have won the award for the Best E-Learning Team of the Year for 2013 by E-Learning Age Awards. Alright then, so let's get straight into it. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the speakers, James Rasmussen, Vice President of Sales in America for ELearning, and Amit Gautam, Founder and Director of Technology Solutions for ELearning. Guys, over to you.
Thank you, Sanjay. Hello, everyone. My name is James Rasmussen, and as Sanjay said, I head up sales for the Americas, which includes North America, Central America, and South America. And in my role for ELearning, I'm primarily just a resource for clients that are looking to understand our solutions and are looking to a resource like myself on the ground in North America, an office in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And my professional background includes 20 years in the e-learning and talent management space, and working in the sales performance industry as well as peer talent management and e-learning, and helping organizations, again, just improve their performance through better learning. So with that, I'll hand it off to Amit Gautam, our founder.
Thank you, James. Just to kind of briefly tell about my role at Upside, apart from being one of the promoters of the company, I today look at the development, implementation, and support for all our global customers on both our platforms. One is the Upside LMS, the learning system, and Upside to Go, the mobile performance support system. And I also oversee sales and business development efforts in North America, which includes South America and Canada also, along with the Middle East, which is Gulf and North and South Africa, and also India market. So kind of gives me a chance to work with a lot of customers across the globe, and also meet a lot of people. So that's where my role comes in. Jim, I work with Jim in North America for the sales efforts here. And today, kind of the session is more about e-learning on tablets, and we'll be speaking about how, what, and why of the e-learning on tablets part. And we'll be covering areas like what is a tablet, what is e-learning on tablet, why do we actually need and talk about that, and eventually how do we do that. So before we kind of go on talking about the various aspects of the session today, I just wanted to make sure that we have the right context for ourselves to speak about in terms of where the audience is today. So we will be doing a couple of polls back to back. The first one being coming on live now is, does your company plan to use tablets at workplace for whatever purpose? So the poll will start now. It will be open for about 30 to 40 seconds. It should be on your screens now, and please feel free to respond. And I'll wait for the results to come before we proceed further. All right, so thank you everyone for kind of submitting the results for the poll, and it is already in front of me. And what I can see here is, I think about 65% of the audience with us today, they are saying that either they are already using tablets to some extent, or they would do so in the next 6 months, which is a big number. And of course, just to add, it doesn't really surprise me a lot, because we've been doing this webinar and presentations on this particular topic for many months now, and I've seen this number increase in front of my own eyes in terms of where we are vis-a-vis tablets being in workplace. So I'm not really surprised a lot. Before we proceed further, I'll just do the second poll quickly. It could be more relevant for people in the 60% of the categories, but please feel free to put in the answers. The poll should be live now and open for another 30 seconds. All right, let's look at the results of the poll. Okay, so roughly 45% of the audience members are indicating that they will use tablets in the organization learning context for sales and performance support, and about 38 to 40% indicate they will use it for compliance and mandatory training, which kind of puts the total number to about 75% who will be able to use the tablets for either training or sales and performance support, which is again, as I said a little while back, it is not really a big surprise to us. We've been working in the space of mLearning, e-learning on tablets, tablets learning, device learning for quite a while now. And so I think it just kind of helps us understand the audience where they are. And I do hope our session will be able to contribute to some extent to everybody today, because what we are talking about today does come into the right context. So before we proceed, I'd just like to ask Jim, because Jim meets a lot of people in America here, is travels a lot, he meets people at exhibitions, conferences and events. And just ask him about his own experience about the whole tablet learning, and how it maps into the learning at organizations, in what he has seen so far in the last few months. He's been tracking these things. So I just quickly ask Jim to share his experience on where does he see tablet-based learning and how does he see things happening in his experiences.
Thank you, Amit. Yes, it's interesting that I'm not surprised as well at the results, as we're talking to organizations on a daily basis, as well as a recent mLearning, getting into the mLearning realm, as well as Learning Solutions Conference that we attended in Orlando last week, and interacting with a lot of industry leaders from companies that are, most of them know that they need to get into this, but it's really how do I do that? And a lot of the feedback that we continue to get from our clients, from companies out there, are around performance support, or they've got compliance and mandatory training. And as we've had dialogue with them and talked about how our solution can help them, there really a lot of the lights have come on for them as to how they can really realistically implement this. Because I think within the industry, it's been, some people know that they want to get into it, but they just don't really know how. So those are the kinds of conversations that we're having, and we've actually added at least three new clients in the last 4 months.
Great, thanks, Jim. Yeah, I think yes. As I said, I do hope we add value to everybody today for this session here. So before we move on to how to do e-learning on tablets, I would start with a very basic question, which is more about how do we understand what is a tablet. And not so long ago, I would have replied very simply saying, have you seen iPad? Yeah, that's a tablet. But from there on, things have changed drastically in terms of devices. The boundaries between devices hasn't blurred so fast as it has happened in the last, I would say, year, maybe just about a year and a half. Today, smartphones have become bigger, tablets from there on have become smaller, and you can actually find a device between 3" to about 12". Almost, it's like it's like a continuum which is there. There's no finite line between these devices. But for the purpose of our understanding at our company, how we approach designs of learning for various devices, we look at tablets primarily from a device which is about 7" or around that, and between 11". So that's the range we look at when we specify a tablet. And of course, again, as I said, this is again changing fast, with rumors of iPad Pro to be 13.3" coming out this year. That will again stretch the boundaries of what a tablet would be. And we already have phablets which lie between a tablet and a phone. They are about 6.1, 6.2" of size. So I think, but yes, for the sake of clarity, for the sake of being on the same page today, we'll define tablets at somewhere between 7 and 11" of screen size. Let's also look at how this fares worldwide. So a market share of tablets by screen size in the 6 years band of 11 and 17. You could see actually see the number of tablets more than 11" or bigger than 11" will be a little less. So the focus will be more around the smaller tabs, which is around 7 to 8", and the larger ones, which is up to about 11". Now, apart from screen size, there are other factors. So, screen size is one factor to differentiate. But our tablets, do they deserve attention, enough attention, as we are talking about today, to be able to generate this traction here for, let's say, learning at workplace? So if you compare tablets, let's say on one end, to a laptop, which is again a mobile kind of a mobile device, and a smartphone, I think tablets have a unique proposition. In terms of portability, they are not very far from what a smartphone is. Let's say if you look at a smaller tab, it is, it fits into a jacket's pocket, so it is almost as portable as a smartphone is. Of course, a little heavier, a little bigger. In terms of functionality, tablets have more functionality, lying towards, let's say, they have a better capability and capacity than a smartphone, so they have more functionalities to offer. And this is still changing, as early as, let's say, maybe in a couple of days, Microsoft is set to announce iPad, Office for iPad, and that kind of stretches the limits further on what a tab can do. In terms of flexibility and features, it is as flexible and featureful as a smartphone is. It is affordable, it is available, and in terms of connectivity, with now almost every tablet coming with both the, let's say, 4G LTE or a cellular option as well as a Wi-Fi option, I think connectivity, if not as good as smartphone, it will be equivalent to smartphones. And I think, and of course, this is today, and in some time these things will change. And in my view, tablets will become more and more flexible and portable and available as much as smartphones. So again, having kind of defined tablets and having put the right context for the tablets, we'll do one more poll quickly here, is to, personally, what do you use your tablet for? And you could use your own experiences in the gamut of your personal space and office space, and just answer this poll quickly. So it'll be open for about 30 seconds now. All right, thank you. The results are there with me, and there's a staggering almost 70% number which says they use the tablet for work purpose. and a similar number for entertainment and emails, which is a good kind of indicator of where tablets are. And as we move further in this session, we also have some studies we have kind of accessed which share similar numbers in terms of how they are used today. So again, just last of the polls today, and the reason why this poll is useful is, so you'll find in the next slide, is given a choice, irrespective of assumed situations you normally go through, and when you use a phone and a tablet, given a choice, would you use a tablet or a smartphone? So this poll is again going to be live for about 30 seconds, and we'll take it from there. Okay, we have the results, and thank you again for putting in your answers here. And roughly 60% indicate they would use a tablet given a choice, and also about 40% will use a smartphone given a choice. And I think it ties into the results of almost 70% of the audience today with us using tablets for work purpose and email purpose. So it makes sense. And I think you're only using a tablet whenever you have a choice. Now I think the reason we were looking for this is, it is where we kind of tap into this understanding and move into the world of e-learning on tablets. And how do you design, how do you work on, when do you find a tablet to be a better target device than any other device for e-learning. So there's a study done by Google which was done on the multi-device world, and I think the result or the main theme of the study was that context today drives our device choice. And because as most of you, I think all of you, you use multiple devices on a daily basis, and you move between them throughout the day almost like effortlessly. So you would be sometimes pulling out your phone, pulling out your tab, pulling out your laptop. So, but the study was focused on when do we use these things and what are the factors defining these things. So the context really drives the choice. One second, I'm not sure if everybody can see my screen. Just one second, I think some people have all right. Okay. So yeah, I think we had a slight glitch there. So yeah, context drives the device choice. It depends on a set of factors like amount of time we have at that point in time, the goal we want to accomplish, our location, and of course it also depends on our attitude and state of mind. While the location, the goal, and the time might point to, let's say, a smartphone, but maybe personally I want to use tablets more than a smartphone, or vice versa. So now this is really helpful in able to define the right target. So for example, if you are trying to build e-learning for your workforce, which is mostly mobile, and they are traveling a lot or they are commuting a lot, so you might have to look at the right target device for those things. And if it is more for let's say you want to have people use them at their free time but still in office or somewhere else. So I think all these factors will help us understand the target devices much better, and we can plan for those devices much better. In terms of tablets, as we just ran a few polls, as of now, tablets are still more of a device of entertainment and communication. Email is a big part of that, and it is also used heavily for media interactions. About 10% of our daily interactions of media occur on a tablet. It is still used more in a relaxed and leisurely manner. So about 80% people use that at home and 20% out of home. And of course, as we add more and more power to tablets, as it becomes more powerful technically, it becomes more functionality rich. I think this trend will continue to change in the favor of it being used in workplace more and more. Again, just to put the right context, we use tablets more than smartphones for reading books, which is, I think, a good mapping indicator to, their usefulness to e-learning on tablets. And then, in terms of how we use tablets in terms of shopping, just to give a right, indicator there, we use it more than phones to purchase digital and physical items. Of course, I think one of the factors being you can display more information on tablets, which help people decide in a more informed manner. So that's why these indicators favor tablets more, and these are helpful for us because these indicate that given the right use of the devices, we can actually deliver and use them for delivering e-learning or performance support on tablets easily. So what is e-learning on tablets? Is it is it a course on tablet? Is it something else? So how do we actually go through that challenge of defining this one? What we have done is just to put it kind of not like a definition, but more like summarizing how we can all see. It is any learning or performance support intervention which is delivered or accessed via tablets. So it's just to simply put, if I could deliver something on a tablet, or I could use something on a tablet, and which is in the realm of learning or performance support, I think we call it e-learning on tablets. Now this brings in the dimensions of, it could be just in case, it could be just in time, or at the point of need. It could be a push, like you have a curriculum of various things and you want people to go through that, either onboarding or something else. It could be pushed to the devices where they can access that, or it could be a true performance support where the information is pulled to the tablets by the users. So it's a learning and performance support delivered or accessed via tablets. That's how we define e-learning on tablets. There are various forms of this. One is, whatever we do for desktop-based e-learning, we just copy that and we just make it work on tablets. So let's say Flash doesn't really work on all the tablets, fine. So if we have made a e-learning module or e-learning activity on which works on, let's say, browsers, and it is HTML or HTML5, and the same design and approach, we make it work on tablets, that would be desktop e-learning on tablets. Of course, the challenge is that it is not really optimized and designed for tablets, because tablets have a few things which you can use, but it will still classify as e-learning on tablets. The second is, which is I think one of the most popular term now, responsive and multi-device e-learning. So you create multiple or you create learning and performance support interventions, but you create them in a single package which can be delivered across multiple devices irrespective of the size and the platform of the devices. So that gives you the flexibility to create a single source package which can run on a small phone, or on a large or a small tablet, or even laptop or desktops. But they are optimized for design for various devices. So again, that is one form of e-learning on tablets. The third could be where you actually use native apps of, let's say, Apple, Windows, BlackBerry, Android. You actually create apps to deliver learning or performance support focus on tablets. So the example being here, we've done something for Toyota when they launched Yaris. This was more of a self-guided tour for both the sales staff at the event they used to launch the car in Europe somewhere, and for customers walking in just to know more about the car. It was more like a small game and interactive pieces of slide, but it was built as an iPad app. And one other example could be something which is embedded in the workflow as a process, or as a step of process, and where, for example, the one shown here on the slide is an Emirates example, and they had a process of, they used to print out a lot of information, and just before the flight can take off, the pilot and the crew, they have to kind of checklist a huge amount of information about passengers, their cargo, and everything else on pieces of paper. So they moved that process to a tablet-based process, and so kind of, that's again an example of, that is more like performance support. It increases efficiency, and you can also use that once it is in the tablet format. You can actually use that to create more interventions also effectively. And of course, because tablets have great capacity and power these days, they're also used in a lot of examples which are not really learning specific. So in the field of healthcare and IT specifically, or so there are so many areas where tablets have become a big part of the computing world by default. So a quick recap on what is a tablet. We looked at a tablet being somewhere between 7 and 11 inches of screen size. And we also discussed the evolving form factors. Tablets are becoming like there are now detachable tablets which can work with the keyboard. They almost work like a desktop or a laptop. If you can take them out of the keyboard and they'll work like a handheld device. And there's a lot of convergence happening between what a PC could do and now what mobiles can do or tablets can do. So I think there's a merging of power of PCs coming to tablet world. And we also looked at the use of tablet being more towards in a relaxed sense of time. But of course, we also looked at various studies and factors which are saying that increasingly tablets are becoming used at workplace for a lot of purpose. And then we looked at what is e-learning on tablets, where we looked at support, performance support e-learning, either pushed or pulled via tablets. You could be running your existing e-learning typically non-flash, though flash still works on a few devices, but is not supported by Adobe anymore on mobile devices. So whatever you have as e-learning right now working on desktop, you could put them on tablet. That is one. Responsive e-learning, we looked at that, which is a single source content package which works on multiple devices without having the need of having multiple course modules. And then we also looked at the uniquely tablet focused like native apps and other applications. And we also talked about the workflow embedded applications which could be used via tablets specifically. So I think before I move on to why e-learning on tablets, I'll just quickly let Jim also share, his experiences or his thoughts about, the overall tablet scenario, and either because I'm sure he also uses tablet for his own personal, because he travels a lot. I mean, he has an iPad, he uses a lot. I've seen him use that a lot. So I'll just let him quickly share his experience in terms of how he sees tablets at workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Amit. And just from a personal perspective, I do have my own tablet, and well, I think initially I was using it more for entertainment, and still do that as I do travel a lot. So it's nice for reading, movies, games, whatnot. But I find myself more and more there's an intersection with work, and it's just they're easier to work with, and they're light, portable, and so I find myself working more as well. Now, in the marketplace, we talk to so many companies that, again, they know they need to make this, they feel like they need to make this move, but there's some inertia. They're stuck at how to go about doing that. So it's for them, the first question was why mobile learning, or e-learning, getting that into the mobile realm, and then it's the how. So in a lot of cases, it's a really big step for organizations to go right into something for the smartphones and all the various devices, the BYOD, bring your own device world that's so realistic out there. And of course, our solutions do address that as well. But the e-learning on tablets, the tablets in particular, are a nice bridge. And organizations have found that more comfortable to that toe in the water is more on tablets. It's safer, and it's certainly a better learning environment. And we're actually, the performance support piece, it certainly works on tablets, but works even stronger on iPhones and other smartphones as well. So to that extent, that's really the why of e-learning on tablets. They know they need to get there. How do we get there? Tablets is a nice bridge to get them moving forward and getting acclimated to this type of technology.
Great, thanks, Jim. Thanks for sharing your experiences. And even I use a variety of devices. I have a 6-inch phablet phone. I have an iPad Mini, and I have a MacBook Air. And for me, I think they encompass everything that I could possibly use for whatever work. But I think it's been more than 6 or 7 months now that I have started using my iPad Mini more than even my laptop for a lot of purposes. And so I think that just kind of signifies the rise of tablets in workplace. And I think it is not really a temporary phenomenon. It is something which is going to stay. And if you look at even the supply side of the things, with tablets becoming more and more powerful and companies focusing more on tablets, it's going to really happen. And we'll look at more data and more information in the next few slides about why e-learning on tablets. So the first, the reason, or the main reason, from more like from I think from a standpoint of where things are, we firmly believe, and we've been saying this for I think over 2.5 years now, that mLearning is the future of workplace learning. And e-learning on tablets is a small part of mLearning, and mLearning is itself a small part, a subset of, not a small part, but a subset of e-learning. But as we have seen in the past few slides, where tablets are becoming more powerful, they're becoming as good as smartphones in flexibility and as good as laptops and desktops in performance. I think there is a big reason of believing that mLearning is the future of workplace learning. And we have in past released a lot of articles, we've written a lot of blog pieces, we released infographics around this particular belief of ours, how mLearning is changing the workplace and how it is a good and a great opportunity for everyone, right from consumption to production. As I think one of our first webinars we did on mobile learning was that there is no escaping mobile learning, and all of these are available on the website for further drill down, and you can really understand where we are coming from. So why tablets for e-learning? Again, just to recap some of the things I just said in the beginning, these data points or these surveys just kind of solidify that information that tablets are the fastest growing device category in the mobile space. They are shipped more than smartphones, and overall they are more than any other device in the handheld device segment. And at some point in not so distant future, we will be seeing more tablets being shipped than PCs. And I think it is this is a little older study, and if I remember correctly, I saw a piece of an article where it mentioned that we are very close, or we have almost done this inflection where today PCs are shipped more than tablets. And in fact, there's a news about Sony shutting down its laptop division and selling it to somebody else, and they are focusing more on their smartphone and other markets, which is an indicator. And I think unfortunately more such companies will come in picture where they will be closing down their laptop or desktop business, and it is not really far in future. And of course for us, what it says is that for a learning function, for learning teams, tablets become a hugely attractive target space for able to deliver learning or performance support. And if you look at some of the new things happening in the tablet space, things like hybrid laptops and hybrid tablets, or Windows tablet, which you kind of have a stronger operating system, which includes stronger functionality. I think these might just become the game changer, and as they pick up traction in the market, these will actually drive more usage of tablets at workplace, which means we will have to be able to cater to that growing workforce which only uses tablet 100% of the work time, and they need to be they need to be able to access information about learning or performance support from their tablets all the time. There are other studies done, I'll just quickly browse through them, and about 50% of people are using tablets at workplace more than 50% of the time. And we've done our own audience poll today, which indicate about 70% of that is happening. So this is a broader based study done by Computing in UK. So as Jim mentioned in between, I think what we look at is, how do we look at it from a customer perspective? Because yes, tablets are attractive. Yes, e-learning tablets makes perfect sense, and I think mLearning is definitely future of workplace. But of course, it's not just it's not easy to just convert everything to mLearning or develop everything for mLearning and deliver that to the users. Sorry. So I think that's where we find the tablets becoming a bridge between today's e-learning function and the need and the, I would say, demand to go into the mLearning space. So e-learning on tablets, I think they just kind of become the bridge, because you can start with tablet-based learning, and as you gain enough understanding about how users behave on that, then you can move to full-fledged mLearning. And as we said, e-learning on tablets is a subset of mLearning, and but that gives you that right stepping stone or platform, saying, okay, this is how we move from a static laptop-based or desktop-based learning to a more mobile tablet-based e-learning. So I think that will be it becomes a big bridge to move into mLearning or mobile-first learning kind of a strategy. So again, a quick recap. We looked at why e-learning on tablets, and of course, mobile is the future of workplace learning. So no bigger reason can really persuade us than this one. And tablets, I think it is more of a supply and demand thing, but because it is useful and it helps a lot of people, hence it is the fastest growing device category. And it is going to be game changer, especially with the rise of tablets which can work as desktop, which can be removed as a tab, and they have better capabilities. They will definitely be a game changer. And they are already in the workplace. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It has already happened. I think for the last year it's happening gradually, and it's already there in the workplace. And they could be the real bridge to the mLearning initiatives, because we've seen a lot of companies in the past 1.5 years or so, where they really need and they really want to do the full-fledged mobile learning, but somehow there's a gap between what they want and how they can do that. And we've seen with our own experiences with working with our own customers that tablet-based learning is that right step and the gradual step or a full bridge to real mLearning. So that's where it is. So I think we have seen what is tablet, we have seen what is e-learning on tablets, and why do we really need and talk about e-learning on tablets. Now let's say we're all convinced about this idea, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. Of course it is with somebody like us who's experienced, who've done this for a long time. But how do we do e-learning on tablets? And we are not going to really talk technical things here. We are really going to focus on things which you need to focus on when you think of designing or looking at e-learning on tablets. How do you really go about that before you even start doing the technical development of the stuff? So we'll look at some of things, and I think the first one which I really want to focus on is we have to first be very, very clear about why do we want to do e-learning on tablets. Let's not go with that because everybody else is doing it. Every organization has a different need. They are at a different stage in where their maturity is in terms of learning and their devices, I think. So we have to be clear about our objectives first. Is it making e-learning accessible to mobile workforce? Is that your primary objective? If yes, it needs a different approach. Or it's more about performance support, where you put in information and material access for your mobile field or just field staff, for just in case or just in time or at the point of need. Is it more about that? Or it is more about, everything is fine, but, we still want people to learn a lot of other stuff when they are not really working or they have a downtime. Let's say, your workforce is right now not fully occupied with work and they have about 20% time on a weekly basis left with them. They could use something like a mobile learning activity while they may not be at the desk, but maybe in cafe or a canteen area, and they can still learn something about other things. So I think depending on the objective, and of course you may have all these objectives at the same time depending on what you're focusing on. So let's say for your sales force, you may be looking at more of the first and the second point where you want them to do e-learning while they're mobile, but they also need access to information and material. For example, yesterday me and Jim were going to a meeting, and our team from India sent us some more updates about the meeting, and we were about 10 minutes away from the meeting, and we had about, I think, enough time to just pull our phone and look at the information, and it really helped us in the meeting because it was a useful piece of information, and it really helped us in the meeting well. So for a Salesforce team, it could be the difference between closing a deal and not closing a deal is how well are they having access to information in time. So again, depending on the objectives, each activity could be defined and designed accordingly. So let us kind of look at how to do e-learning on tablets, and these are more like overall approaches or paths to do that. So First one, where when we work with a customer which is new to e-learning or mLearning, and they have done some e-learning before, our first focus is to see if, given the objective of the company, if we can make their existing e-learning work for tablets. It is quick, it is kind of dirty, but it is, as we said, the first step towards mLearning. You don't have to really do everything all out in the beginning to achieve mLearning objectives, because the objective is really to be able to deliver e-learning on tablets. So why not use what you already have as assets? So many dollars spent on building that up, why not use that and somehow enable them to work on tablets? And of course there are a lot of tools available to do that. As a company we have been working on this. We help companies achieve mEnablement, as we call it, where we take the piece of learning they have, could be flash, could be non-flash, and we convert that. It could be a technical conversion where we just run it through a tool, change the format of the files, make sure things work fine, and we work it on tablets. Or it could be a slight change in the way it is been designed. So instead of using too many animations, we can move it to, let's say, videos. We could modify interactivities to some static animations. So it could be a quick and dirty conversion to maybe almost close to a development of the existing e-learning for tablets. The second path is, depending on the objective and depending on your device target segment, because bring your own device is also something which you can't ignore. So you may have people carrying multiple devices, could be tablets, could be tablets, could be mobile phones, could be smartphones. So second is, when you are developing something new and you're investing in that, why not make it work on multiple devices at the same time, which is a responsive way of doing things. Third is, given your organization, given your material information, can you, make it focus on tablets only? Let's say, given the kind of, let's say you have to build an application which uses devices capabilities like camera for augmented reality or accelerometer or location-based things, and you really want to deliver something which is really, really helpful for performance support or learning. You could use an app development approach for that piece of work. And the last one is, of course, something which can embed in the workflow. That is more like a process automation, but it could be where tablets come in really handy in an efficient manner. Now, some design thoughts, more from, of course, a high-level design perspective of how to go about designing e-learning on tablets. I just quickly have all the points there. Now, there are 5 key areas we believe need to be looked at. It's kind of a broad checklist for the learning team that, okay, I want to design an e-learning on tablets. What do we do? What do we take care of? So relevance, consistency, offline usage, tablet affordances, and tracking. These are the 5 key things we think need to be really, really thought out. And relevance means, of course, when you create a piece of e-learning, you have the raw content from which you do that. But when you are looking to design e-learning on tablets, given the screen size, given the capability of the device, we urge and we, we focus on only taking out the relevant pieces of content and information and use that to design e-learning. For example, you may not really need 1,000 images to do that, because on a tablet which might be used on a 3G connection on or on a poor connection, you may not really have the affordance of having many images in that content, even though it makes sense. So we have to really balance out between what to put, how to put that in terms of the device relevance. Then consistency is consistency is more about as simple as, let's say you only are focusing on 10-inch tablet or 7-inch tablets, but even there you have 2 orientations, landscape and a portrait. So what if I change my orientation to portrait from landscape? Does my content still works in the same manner? Is it consistent with how it is delivered on that orientation? So plus if it is for tablets, it will work well on 7-inch and 10-inch, but in all the, so it has like 4 orientations in total: 7-inch landscape, 10-inch landscape, 7-inch portrait, and 10-inch portrait. So the information we design has to be consistent across at least these 4 broad orientations and combinations of tablet size. The third being offline usage. Are you looking to have your users the ability to download material and use it offline? And if yes, then you might have to go for either a hybrid app where your shell is more like an app which pulls in content in a web format, but it has that ability to be able to download content onto the device for offline usage, because you have, let's say, 20 MB of content there. You don't want people to use their 3G to do that, so they will download the material in office using Wi-Fi, and when they go home or out of office or in field, they can use that without any internet connection problem. So if that is the case, if that is a big factor, you have to define that in your design in the beginning. Otherwise, a pure web-based content delivery will not allow you to do an offline storage of the content. So again, this is a big factor there. And the fourth being tablet affordances. This is where you actually use the device's inherent capabilities like accelerometer, camera, location capability. You can design, if let's say you're looking to deliver something which can use these things, then of course they have to be designed with the proper context. And the last being tracking. Whatever you are delivering, do you need to track usage of that in terms of either just opening and closing or progress through the activity at various milestones within the activity? If yes, you will have to choose between either, let's say, a SCORM protocol or experience API, or a mix of these things, or your own proprietary protocol where you use that to track. And they have to also define where are they hosted. Are you going to send them back to a server? Are they going to be on the device offline? So you may have to mix, let's say, offline usage with tracking and other things. So I think before you start putting your thoughts on paper on terms of, okay, I need to develop this thing for my mobile delivery, be careful and sure to put these factors in place and see how do these play a role in your activity there. So these will help you to avoid any problems in the end, or when, let's say, you spend money to develop something, you have to be really sure that this will work in all your design aspects. And I think quickly, I definitely want to leave some time for questions and answers, and I would want to leave about 10 minutes for that. So I have about 3-4 minutes for my presentation here, and so there's some design. These are again not really very technical, but things which are obvious when we talk about that, but sometimes ignored and in hurry, or because of because of the capabilities of the development team. So one is touch. Because you are delivering that on a mobile device, on a tablet, touch is, I think, the biggest differentiator between on a mobile device and a thing like a laptop or a desktop. And whatever you design, try to leverage that touch capability to the largest extent possible. Pinch and zoom, swipe, or long press, 3-finger gesture, 4-finger gesture, or double tap, all those things. So be sure to be able to leverage your understanding of consumer behavior on tablets, how different platforms offer different device touch capabilities, and building those to create interactivities, engagement, or just pure ease of use of your content for the user. Again, simple thing, but please design for what is called fat fingers, with no offense intended. But having a small cross button or a small checkbox which is difficult to press, or having 2 or 3 such buttons side by side, and you're going to press let's say next, and you actually press close by mistake, it doesn't really make users feel comfortable. So there are recommended guidelines from each platform SDK developers for iOS, for BlackBerry, Android, Windows, and for each device size. So for a 7-inch tab, for a 10-inch tab, for portrait, for landscape orientations, look at those recommendations and design it so that it is comfortable for kind of a varied segment of people who can use that. And if you're building in areas within your activity where you want people to give inputs, by tapping in something or small interactivity, design in a way that when the virtual keyboard comes up on the screen, it doesn't eat up the critical part of the screen, and it is not difficult to look at both the main activity and the keyboard, because sometimes I've seen that when we open the keyboard up, I could not really look at the entire activity and type side by side. I lose information and I also lose my patience because of that. So I think virtual keyboards, especially in landscape mode, they I think take about 40% of the space of the real estate. So we have to be careful in designing activities for that. Now get used to rollovers in the in the realm of mouse and laptop. We are so used to rollovers to look at information without actually using that. So we can, in tablets, we can actually use the long press functionality or a double tap to simulate those rollovers, which are really helpful because we've been using them for a long time, and I think it also gives you the opportunity to present information apart from the content. Also, again, just in the context of the virtual keyboard, or you have to really type something, allow for the right design so that thumbs for a large tablet, if you're using keyboards, thumbs could really easily reach that keyboard and use that keyboard. And design with initial understanding of how this will look like in a portrait and landscape. How will that be consistent? What information maybe we would lose because of the orientation, and how do we present that? Try to be as consistent as possible in both the modes. Though what is in a landscape, you have, let's say, 4 columns like the one you see here. In portrait you may have only 2 columns, but the information does not really change. It just makes it in a different layout. You just see things more vertical than horizontal, but it is still not changing the overall information or the presentation. And last is images. Images are a big part of e-learning, and they have to be, but optimize them before you put them into e-learning. Use them well, and so that because if somebody is using that activity on a 3G or a weak internet connection, it should not really be the biggest bottleneck when it just keeps loading the image and doesn't really come up to ever. So I think images become because they would be a big part of the activity. We have to really be aware of how to use them optimally. So again, but these were some of the things which I want to talk about, and just to do a quick recap on how to do e-learning on tablets. Objectives right, I think no doubt about that, and this is where it will make the difference between a success and failure, because if this is what you're doing for the first time, you need to make sure that you have the right objective, because that is where you will track the success and failure. How do you really map it against what you wanted to do in the beginning? And it also give you enough feedback for your full-fledged mLearning activities, because this way you can really effectively get a mapped feedback about, okay, this is what we wanted to do, this is what we have done, and this is how the feedback comes in. In our recommendation, start with the smaller step of mEnablement, because again, tablet-based learning is again a behavior change from our conventional e-learning, and this will be a good testing the waters thing, where you can, without spending too much of money and efforts, you can convert what you already have running well, being used well, to something on tablets and see how it works. And then in the meantime, you work on how to really use that the device part. And then we also looked at the tablet-specific e-learning. If your e-learning activity can use and does need to use things like camera, augmented reality, QR codes, barcode scanner, accelerometer, location-based things, go for that. Go for an app which leverages all those capabilities and give the users an experience which they really want and they really deserve in that scenario. And of course, you can also target embedding learning in the workflow, which is more of automation of certain functions which help them learn and also perform better in the workflow. So again, that's kind of, before I close and open it for questions, I'll just quickly ask Jim if he wants to share, things upon, especially on the, first 2 parts, objectives being right and starting with mEnablement, because that's, I'm sure, he would have seen a lot of people talking to him about how to do e-learning and how to do e-learning to start with.
Yeah, for months now, the conversations have, the volume of conversations about e-learning on tablets and mEnablement have really escalated. the interest is growing. There's a real tipping point coming. You can just feel it in the marketplace. But the thing that's been interesting is that to the first point, getting objectives right, is that in these dialogues, and we've actually gotten down a path where we're presenting solutions, and there's a real aha moment, if you will, in the organization's mind, that they don't have their objectives right, they don't have their strategy buttoned up, so to speak, and they know they have to go back to the table and think that through further. So that's actually a conversation for us. We're starting to have that up front just to make even clearer how important that is. So that's obviously a big piece of it. And then where do you start? And with that, mEnablement makes so much sense from a perspective of don't try to bite it all off at once. A great strategy for mEnablement is just to, let's take a few courses and just start to work with that and get those mEnabled. And once we kind of get that figured out, then we can go into a bigger. So we've gotten into a few soft launches, if you will, around that, and it's been a real nice strategy for organizations to get to that stage of mEnablement.
Thank you, Jim. And I think with that, I would close the session today. And thanks to everyone for being a patient listener and for being there with us for this session. And it is now open for questions, and we do have a few questions which have already come in, and I'll just quickly see, and I'll take up a few of them and answer them here. For most of the other ones, so all the other ones will release, we'll put in answers in a document and release that for everybody to see. And of course, the recording of this will be available on our website shortly after the session is over. So I'm just checking in the questions which have come in, and I'll quickly take a couple of them. I think one of the questions here was, I think someone has a situation where users are not really having a tablet which is connected to either Wi-Fi or internet to some extent, in any extent. And I think in such situations, of course it is difficult to do it in a regular manner, but there have been ways we have looked at where you could find ways to sync the devices through a local server, but of course it depends on the platforms of the tablets to be used, and also depends on what kind of technical support we have at those remote locations. But yes, if it is not connected to the internet or to the 3G or cellular connection at all, then yes, it's a big challenge to be able to push learning to those devices. There has to be some connection, either once a while where we can use that to deliver content, then they can go and do it offline. But there has to be some way to connect that, or through just connecting to a PC and downloading it through a USB cable is also an option. But there has to be some way to connect to kind of a content source to be able to do that. Okay, there's an interesting question here. What is the average time a student should spend taking a lesson on a tablet? Now, I think the answer here goes back to my discussion on the objectives of the thing, and what are you really delivering on tablet. And I don't think there's a difference in the timing spent on something between a laptop or a computer or a tablet or a phone. It all depends on what you have designed and developed for that. So if you have designed something which should take roughly half an hour to finish, I think that should be the benchmark for even tablets. Of course, subject to whether you have more of videos in that, or you have more of animations in that, or you have more of touch capabilities being in that. But I think the time spent is really dependent on how you've designed that part. All right. I think there's one of the questions here which says, are there tools available to be able to convert e-learning to mLearning rather quickly or at less cost? Yes, there are tools available to do that, and we have worked with many such tools here. So I think there are tools which can convert flash files to videos. Of course, you lose some interactivities, but they still make it run on multiple devices. Then there are other tools from other providers which do a variety of things which you can use to do that. Okay, one more interesting question here, which is, do most LMSs support tablets? Of course, when you say most LMSs, I think they don't really support tablets as of now. Some of them support tablets, but the bigger question is not really LMSs supporting tablets. The bigger question is the content ready to be used on tablets? Because even if all LMSs start supporting tablets, which is not really difficult for them to do, and which will happen in the next maybe say year or so, the challenge will still remain: how do you design e-learning for tablets? Because that's a bigger activity. And I think there is no doubt about almost all LMSs worth their salt being available on tablet or even smartphones and laptops responsively. But yes, the challenge will still remain: how do you port e-learning, or how do you do e-learning for tablets? I think we are finishing our session now. We are close to the end time, and we respect everybody's time, so we will not really stretch it further. We are available on various media, Twitter, website, email. Feel free to kind of contact us or our marketing team for any questions you have in mind. We'll release the answers to the questions we have seen in the webinar today, and we'll also put up the webinar recording on our website shortly. Thank you everyone for spending time with us, and for adding value to our session. And from me and Jim here, have a good day, good night, and good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.